Linhares is here with you today to talk to you all about Scorpio energy, transforming passion into purpose. So in this episode, I'm going to break down what is this very misunderstood energy of the Scorpio archetype. And then I'm going to break down the energy of the moon. Then I'm going to show you how the moon in Scorpio operates and share my own personal story about my relationship with Scorpio moon energy. I was born with a full moon, 29 degrees Scorpio full moon. So Scorpio moon energy is something I have lived with my entire life. And believe me, it has not been an easy energy to work with. So I want to share what I know with you so that you can handle this very wild time. What is Scorpio energy? Transformation, death, and rebirth. It is the why. Scorpio wants to know why. It's the investigator. It's the detective. Scorpio sees everything with X-ray vision. It can see the ulterior motives of others. It can see when there's a lie being told. It can see into the shadows and see what's happening behind the scenes. Scorpio is very passionate. It is very intense. It's very driven. It's very strategic. Ruled by both Mars and Pluto. So Mars being the action, the passion, the drive, the desire, and Pluto being that transformational force that will change something from one state to another. Pluto in evolutionary astrology also represents the soul's evolution. It is what we came in to work with in this life. What was our deep soul desires? What did we want to learn, to transform and transmute in this life? Scorpio is water energy, fixed water energy, meaning it is in touch with the emotions. It is complex emotional waters. It is the deep penetrating aspects of being a human. It's sensitivity, it is intuition, it can be psychic energy, it can feel everything. It feels its environment and it feels itself to be very vulnerable. This is part of the misunderstanding of Scorpio energy, is that at the base, at the heart of the Scorpio energy is a deep insecurity, a vulnerability and a wounding, a trauma of betrayal, abandonment. So there's this deep complexity within the Scorpio archetype of needing to protect itself. And so we see this in the image of the scorpion, the animal, how it's dark in the shadows and it's protected by this sort of tough exterior. From the outside, it may look as though it's a menace because the Scorpio has that stinger that could just kill. But at the heart of Scorpio energy, the part that people don't understand is that it's very insecure and very vulnerable sign. It has a deep relationship with fear. Fear is a huge part of the Scorpio journey, and facing fears and overcoming its fears, surrendering into the fear, going into that cave that we fear to enter, in order to up-level, to transmute that fear into fearlessness. Scorpio has a deep drive. It is very motivated by the strategy of how to get from A to B. When it fixates its mind on something or its emotion or its intensity, it can become obsessive. It can be paranoid, and it can really, on one hand, it's very positive in the driven, strategic going towards its goal. Like it won't lose focus. It can be so focused on what it desires. However, on the other side of the coin, it can be very unhealthy in how obsessive it can get into these very unhealthy obsessive loops. Scorpio is also very highly sexualized energy. Taurus and Scorpio actually is the axis of sexuality. So Scorpio has this deep desire to merge with another, has a desire to bond, to become one. It's the essence of the high alchemized levels of Scorpio is Tantra. It's the tantric act of merging with another or merging with the source, wanting to feel connected to everything. Scorpio has this terrifying reputation that everyone fears about what it means to be a Scorpion energy. And what most people can feel right off the bat about Scorpio energy is that it's very intense. It's deep, it's penetrating, it's psychological. It is fixed water energies. There are different levels of Scorpio energy depending on your level of consciousness. The side of Scorpio that everyone fears, all those dark emotions, is the low shadow realms of Scorpio. So when we actually get into working with the higher energies of Scorpio, it is this beautiful alchemy. Scorpio is the sign of alchemy, transformation, metamorphosis. It is the magical moment between the caterpillar and becoming a butterfly. It is that magic that can be found when we surrender and allow ourselves to be alchemized. Scorpio energy is also associated with the 8th house and the planet Pluto. Those three share similar energies, similar archetypes. Scorpio energy can be very uncomfortable, very unstable, very resistant to change. The biggest lesson in this life for Scorpio is to learn how to let go. It is about learning to surrender into that process of loss. Scorpio can hold on way too long and can become fixated on something, even if it's not healthy, even if it doesn't serve. And so Scorpio is learning to trust that process of death. Scorpio energy is associated with death. It's associated with that transformation from life into death. It represents letting go of control. Scorpio energy is deeply associated with power and control. Pluto is the planet of power and control. And so Scorpio brings with it these dynamics, these power dynamics. That's why it's associated with manipulation, because it's about power and control. And therefore, a deep Scorpio lesson is empowerment or having no power. So there's a huge theme of, do you have the power or are you being dominated and being overpowered by another? The 3 levels of Scorpio energy. Every sign of the zodiac has different levels of consciousness. There's the higher realms and the shadow realms. All of us here are working on learning how to transmute the lower energies into the higher energies. The first level of Scorpio is that image of the animal, the scorpion. It's hiding in the shadows. It's sort of watching, and it's there with its tail ready to sting. A scorpion will kill itself rather than be killed. So there is something very fierce, very shocking, very provocative about a Scorpio. And also that stinger represents a poison, a death. So Scorpio in the lower energy, we're talking about very strong emotions. And we're talking about a lack of control. We're talking about a lack of impulse control. So Scorpio low end is very reactive. It's very intense. It can bring up those deep, dark emotions of jealousy, envy, manipulation, betrayal, revenge. Revenge is a huge Scorpio theme. And the reason Scorpio low energy is in the shadow realm is because there's this story in the archetype of Scorpio, which is total heartbroken abandonment and betrayal. There's like stories of abuse, because it's power and control dynamics. So it's like the abused versus the abuser. There's the betrayal and the betrayer. So there's energy of like cheating, hiding, stealing, manipulating. This is low end shadow stuff. So Scorpio can very, very easily get swayed and pulled into the shadow because there's so much passion. There's so much emotion. There's so much feeling. There's so much depth in the Scorpio archetype. And so that's why I'm calling this new moon transforming passion into purpose. Because on the low end of Scorpio, if we're just reacting, we're putting ourselves in these dark situations, these cycles that will never end. And it's actually not what the Scorpio energy really, truly desires. What it wants is a deep connection, a deep merging, a deep understanding, to be seen for who they truly are, to be held in the intensity of that emotion. I was born with a 29-degree full moon in Scorpio, opposite my Taurus sun. So I deeply understand this energy. This is an energy I have been working with my entire life. And I can tell you it's a very challenging energy to work with, because you want people to understand you. You want people to see you, but yet you feel so insecure and so vulnerable and so, fearful when you're in that lower energy. And at the same time, it's a beautiful energy for deeply feeling into the other. It's an energy that we want to deeply unite and merge and connect and integrate all aspects of being. We are not afraid of the shadow realms. So when you're working on personal self-development, you want to find someone that is not afraid of going into that shadow realms, because we want to, as we become more conscious, integrate all aspects of being. We do not want to run from one for fear of conflict, for fear of looking at, our guilt, our shame, our darkness. We are human beings. We all carry both sides. We all have all aspects of being that we are here to learn to integrate. And I truly believe that we all have the opportunity to really transmute that energy. No matter what we have done in the past, I truly believe we do not need to live in the prison of the past. I believe we have an opportunity in every moment to make new choices. So what we are seeing in the present moment is a result of our past choices, but our future need not be the same as our past. Like I said, there's a deep emotional wound. There could be a trauma involved there that could allow them to feel like they need to protect themselves. There's also, like I mentioned, a darker side of like sexual abuse. There's often like abuses of power in a sexual way. It doesn't have to be sexual, but there could be a lot of sexual traumas in the energy of Scorpio. Another low-end Scorpio archetype is all of the deep desires that we can't control, meaning addiction, meaning being resistant to what you know you need, meaning you're avoiding the long-term benefits for the short term. So in Scorpio, because of the obsessive nature, we can get really caught up in this loop of desire, like wanting, and never being satisfied. That that hungry ghost energy of wanting more sex, food, more alcohol, more drugs, more cigarettes, wanting more. So there really is this energy in the shadow realms of sort of being stuck in this cycle of like almost being enslaved to the desire, like falling into a slavery of desire. Then we move to the second level of Scorpion energy, which is the Phoenix. When Scorpio gets into more consciousness, there is the beautiful art of alchemy that can take place. We can move into courage, bravery, fierce fire, passion that allows the Phoenix to burn itself, going into that cave and allowing itself to crumble into transformation, into that death, like falling into the fire and really just letting go in order to alchemize, in order to become a higher version. And this is the first level of alchemy, where we understand that we can move from one form to another. We can alchemize our dark nature, our shadow realms. We can alchemize this passion into purpose. And then we move into the third stage, which is the eagle, which is an animal of wisdom that flies above, looking below and seeing everything. Scorpio high-end sees everything, but doesn't have the connection to those carnal passions where it needs to react. So when we move into that higher realm of scorpionic energy, we come into the realm of the shaman, the alchemist, the witch, the powerful sage who can work with the darkness. And instead of using the darkness for personal egoic gain, it can transmute it into healing, into integration, into power. But power, ruling with power, instead of manipulation, ruling with integrity. So the highest level of Scorpio is that alchemist, that shaman, that assists humanity, transmuting, transforming all those fears into power, into fearlessness, into courage. So when we have a Scorpio moon, we have a moon that is not comfortable. The moon is at home, exalted in Taurus, the opposite of Scorpio. So it feels uncomfortable because the moon wants to meet its needs. It wants to be nurtured. It wants to feel safe and secure. And with this Scorpion energy, there is no safety. So the moon here is very uncomfortable in its fall. When we look at the moon energy in astrology, and particularly in evolutionary astrology, we are looking at how we are living each day, that moment between our past and our future evolutionary desire. So the moon is really what we need, what we feel, and how we enact that dichotomy between the past and the future, between who we have been in terms of a soul, a spirit, and in terms of who we are here to learn to become. So it's about how we feel, what we need to feel safe and secure every single day. It's how we enact those soul desires in a conscious way. This is a powerful moment of healing. We have an energy that is here to support us, to release, to let go of any behaviors, any thoughts, any people, any situations that are not healthy for us. We are being supported by this energy to release our resistance to what we need to do to be well in our lives. Okay? And I'm just going to say it. This is an excellent time to commit to letting go of any challenging addictions, any obsessions, any unhealthy behaviors. Unhealthy behaviors meaning they might give you short-term pleasure, but in the long term, they are not bringing you to your desired path, that dream life you want to live. I'll give you a really personal example. I'm using this build up to the new moon to do a 3-day fast. And I want to do a reset because right before this, I could tell that I was building up into this, unconscious eating whatever I wanted, overindulging, and just kind of doing whatever I wanted without any consciousness. Overindulging in alcohol, overindulging in, pleasure, basically, wanting more than I needed. So I'm using this as a fast. I'm doing a 3-day fast building up to this new moon so that I can reset my body, reset my mind, and that I can really put my focus on, what I want to live, which is a healthier lifestyle, which is, exercise, meditation, all the things that are important for me to staying grounded, to staying energetically healthy. This is about spiritual hygiene. So if there's some behavior, something that you want to let go of, this is the time. You will be supported by the universe. You're not alone. If you have some kind of unhealthy pattern, you are not alone. So many of us have these very challenging cycles that we need to release and we need to sort of get a grip on. Addiction is not something to be stigmatized. Addiction is often the coping mechanism we use to deal with our traumas, our unprocessed emotions, and our inability to understand that we just deeply want connection. And when we have been in, abusive situations or an unhealthy relationship patterns, that sometimes we don't know how to meet those needs, and so we use our vices, whatever they may be, to cope. So you're not alone. I hear you, I feel you, I see you. But this is an excellent time to really commit to letting go of relationships, letting go of people, letting go of situations, letting go of behaviors that do not serve your life. Let's break down the astrology of this new moon in Scorpio. Here we have some very intense, very fierce, very passionate, very volatile energies at play, and the way we can handle this energy is to be aware. When we have the knowledge, we can work with the energy. New moon is when the sun and the moon come together in one sign and begin a new 30-day cycle of that moon. So we are working with the energy of a new moon. However, because we are working with the energy of Scorpio, Scorpio is the energy of death. It's the energy of endings. It's the energy of cutting off something. It's the energy of boundaries, putting up a wall. Okay, so with that new moon energy, we are starting a new cycle, and yet we are also simultaneously working with a karmic deep ending. We have the sun and the moon at 21, nearly 22 degrees of Scorpio, conjunct nearly exactly Mars in Scorpio at 22 degrees. Mars is one of the rulers of Scorpio, so this is super powerful energy. This is the energy of pursuing desires. This is the energy Mars represents: courage, bravery, action. And in Scorpio, as I've noted, we have those 3 levels of Scorpio. So how are you taking action? Do you have impulse control? Have you moved into your higher frequencies? Or are you working with the energy of rage, anger, aggression, revenge, frustration? I am gonna guess that a lot of the world is gonna be working with a very volatile, very uncontrolled version of Mars in Scorpio, conjunct the sun and the moon. Remember, the sun is the vitality and the moon is the emotional world. So when we've got all that together, we have a powerful Scorpio cocktail. And if that wasn't enough, people, it is exactly opposite Uranus in Taurus. Exact. Okay, we have Uranus in Taurus, 21, 22 degrees of Taurus. In retrograde, opposite the Sun, the Moon, and Mars. What this does is it throws that wild card energy into this new moon. It's the planet of revolution. It's the planet of freedom. It's the planet of like breaking free, sudden change. So this energy of this new moon, people, is freedom. It is power versus powerlessness. It is passion. It is fire. And it is totally unpredictable. So to be real, this is the energy of an eclipse, because an eclipse is a portal of accelerated change. So we have just come off eclipse season, and technically this is the first moon after eclipse season. I would say that this is some kind of an eclipse energy, meaning anything can happen, meaning you need to be very aware of what you are placing your attention on what you are doing with your energy. Okay, I'm putting this out today on the 9th. The new moon is on the 13th, and I am saying that between now and then, and even that whole week afterwards, this energy will be very present, and it's building. So remember, the majority of the world is at a very low level of awareness, of consciousness, meaning they're feeling a lot of emotion, they're feeling a lot of passion, they're feeling a lot of frustration, they're feeling the abuse of power, and they want to fight. They want to be free. They want this to end, and they don't know how to transmute that energy. So what I'm saying is, when you know this energy is happening, you can use that as fire to transform your passion, your pain, your suffering into purpose. What can you do with that energy to create something beautiful? What can you do to not create more destruction? We are all aware of the very tense, volatile situation in the world right now. Our world is in chaos. People are desperate, people are suffering, people are in pain, and they don't know what to do. So what I am suggesting for all of us here who are listening, all of us here who have a level of consciousness, it is time for us to use that energy to create something beautiful. So what can you do to handle this energy? Like I said in my most recent video, Saturn in Pisces, we need to be doing our spiritual practice, our grounding exercises. We need to be doing our meditations. We need to be going into nature. We need to be doing our exercise. We need to be doing our art. We need to be catalyzing, using that energy to make something. This is an excellent time for you to make art. This is an excellent time for you to get serious about your breathwork practice, about going to that exercise class, that dance class, about going to that meditation, about working on shadow work, healing, Reiki, shamanism, taking a course, doing something that you can focus, because Scorpio has that focused energy, and that you can work with the energy. You can transmute that energy into something supportive, into that alchemizing that pain into purpose. So this energy is all about self-empowerment. It's about taking back your power. It's about feeling free to really honor your needs, and to honor your needs first and foremost with yourself, to take care of your impulses. We may be triggered, and again, this is a time to really look at what is it actually that you want to live. Like if you have, for example, a hard time controlling anger, aggression, rage, there are ways to deal with this. Often anger can note, that a boundary of yours has been crossed. It's when we feel powerless, when we feel we have to fight. You know, we fight, we flight, or we freeze. So we are either fighting, or we're running, or we're just frozen in time. So these are traumatic responses that we have most likely learned, often in childhood. And so, you know, when we have that desire, that impulse to fight, it's often because of the situation we were brought up in. I think the best thing we can do to work with this energy is really tune in to our emotional world. Really listen to ourselves and really make sure that we are aware of how we're feeling and how we're acting, how we're behaving, because there will most likely be a lot of chaos, and I would guess there will be an acceleration of disturbing, shocking, worldwide situations. So what I would suggest is really taking some time to yourself, not getting deeper into, you know, anger or frustration or fighting. Like if you feel yourself accelerating, it's a really good thing to just step out, because the point is, people, this is an energy of passion. This is an energy of deep feeling. So we can use that as fuel. We can create something beautiful. And there is this possibility to connect with Neptune. There's a harmonious aspect with Neptune, which is giving us that boost of compassion. Can we have compassion for ourselves during this very challenging moment in time? Can we have compassion and empathy for others that are suffering? Often when people are violent, abusive, you know, what have you, any kind of low or negative emotion, it's because they're suffering. So can we just have compassion first and foremost on ourselves and on others, that we are living in a world where the majority of people do not know how to deal with how they feel, do not know how to handle emotions. And when we don't know how to handle emotions, when we don't know how to handle how we feel, we suffer. But we are not here to suffer. We are here to experience life. We are here to understand that there is more to this reality than what we have been conditioned to believe. We have been told that we are powerless, that we must follow the rules of those in power. And often, and now we are really being shown that those in power are abusing their power, that they do not have our best interests at heart. And so this is a time of deep spiritual awakening. This is a time of people rising into their power, of looking into their shadows, of seeing how are you contributing to the mess, the chaos that we see in the world, and how are you going to take back your power. You are a unique diamond. We need you to step into your brilliance and your power and your love, your heart. Deep, deep, deep down, Scorpio wants so deep to connect. It's almost painful how deeply we want to connect. But we can't connect if we're not sharing our vulnerabilities. We can't connect if we're putting up these barriers between our hearts. We can't connect if we are not honoring who we truly are. And so this is a time to really honor the beautiful soul that you are, and honor this journey, and know that whatever you see in the world that triggers you to feel some deep emotion, look within. Do not stay distracted on looking on the outside world instead of taking responsibility for how you behave and how you feel. I am wishing you so much love during this very intense time. I will be deep in my own personal cocoon. I will be really taking time alone, taking time to meditate, taking time to listen, taking time to slow down, to hear what deeper soul desires, want to be heard, want to be acknowledged. And where do I need to purge? Scorpio can also be about purging. Where do we need to release? It could be tears, it could be anger, it could be, where do you need to allow yourself to surrender into the process, trusting that you will be supported, trusting that you will know what to do. I'm sending you so much love from Madeira Island. I will be back very soon with more. Energy, astrology. I do personal readings. I can tap into your energetic archetypes, your blueprints, and I can also work with what you need to know. My specialty really is deeply seeing into the other and knowing what you need to hear in order to break free from your limitations or whatever is stopping you from really living the life of your dreams. Guys, I forgot to mention, because the energy is so fierce, I want to support you with this 10-minute mindfulness guided meditation that I made to help you get into a relaxed state in 10 minutes. It can help reset your nervous system so it can sort you through this volatile energy. So what I'm asking for you to do is to join my mailing list so that I can start to build up a community of people that are really interested in learning more about astrology and energy. So when you sign up for my mailing list, then I'll mail you the private link for the mindfulness meditation. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, subscribing. I really appreciate it. It really helps me to grow this. And I'm just getting started. I have a lot of exciting things I want to share with you. Music, energy, consciousness, astrology, human design. I have so much to share with you and I can't wait to get it out there. Take care of yourselves and I'll be back soon. Beijinhos.